Hello everyone, welcome to my first budget with me of 2025. We are going to be going over my January expenses. It was a little bit of a higher spend month, but that's okay. And then we're going to be setting up a budget for February. I'm going to be talking about some new savings goals, how I set up my high yield savings, how I'm planning for a trip in March, and just all the fun finance and budgeting things. And before we get into that, I think I'm going to combine two videos in one. I filmed a financial reset earlier last month and the lighting was just not giving, okay? And so I think I'm going to take some of the footage that I don't love to like make it into its own video into this video. And so I'm going to take some of those clips right now and put them in here. But if you just want the monthly budget with me, then you can skip this first like financial reset. But I do think it'll be good because it all aligns, you know, like I'm working on these bigger financial goals through my budget with me's every month. And so here to give you a picture of like what I'm going to be working on in my finances this month, here is a look into my financial reset. So yeah, today we're going to go through just like some of my overall top money recs for books and podcasts. I'm going to share the top spending categories for my previous year. I tallied up the total of how much I spent just in shopping or just in eating out or just in groceries. And I'm going to share that with you guys and then kind of use that information to figure out how I want to structure my budget and stuff for the new year. We're also going to talk about how I want to pay off debt, create a high yield savings account, all of those fun things. Okay, first we're gonna get started with my money and finance recs because I am not an expert in this. I literally just share my perspective and what I enjoy doing. But two people that I really look to for just personal finance advice is one, Chloe Elise. She shares so much finance content, personal finance content. She wrote a book called Deeper Than Money, Ditch Money Shame, Build Wealth, and Feel Confident AF. I read this book last year or like 2023 going into 2024, and it was like one of my favorite books from the year. It was just so great at like outlining the basics of personal finance, but also doing it in a really comfortable and fun way. She also has an amazing podcast, socials, like just I follow her everywhere. So check out her podcast as well if you want more like quick weekly updates with personal finance. And then the second person I want to tell you about is actually, I would consider her a friend. We met this past summer at an event. She is an influencer, Erin Confrontini, and she has a podcast and just creates great money related content on like Instagram and TikTok. So I'm going to have her socials linked below as well. Her podcast she does with one of her friends is called the Life You Love podcast. They talk about a broad range of topics, but they talk a lot about money, and I just can relate to them because they're also girls living in like fun cities. Erin lives here in Nashville in their 20s. And so I'm able to really like relate and actually take advice from them, which is so helpful. Definitely my finance inspo. And she also just started a YouTube channel last year. So I'm going to link all of her stuff below because like I said, I'm not an expert. I like to turn to girls that I can relate to that know more than me about personal finance, and so I turn to them. So the next part of this reset for me was going through and looking at all of my monthly budgets from 2024, tallying up the totals for how much I spent in like my main spending categories, okay? And I'm gonna share these with you. So this is kind of crazy, but the reason I did this was to kind of see like, okay, overall, here's how much I spent in coffee for the year. Is it worth it to spend this much monthly? Should I adjust my monthly spending in coffee to like bring down this, to lower this total? Do I feel like I'm doing a good job spending in these categories? Should I spend more in one category? So I feel like if you don't know what you should set your budget to, if like you're starting budgeting fresh this year, go through your statements last year and tally up how much you spent in each category. Some of your bank accounts and credit cards may do this for you, which would save you a lot of time. But figure out your totals and then figure out your monthly averages and base it off of those numbers. So you're going off of real numbers with your budget, not just, oh yeah, I think $100 a month on coffee sounds good. Like, let's say that. Okay, so starting with groceries, my total I spent in groceries in 2024 was $3,044. This is pretty much just for one person. And when I divided this by 12, it came out to about $254 per month on average, which again lines up with my budget. I spend usually between $200 to $300 a month in groceries, so it makes sense. Like I've been tracking my money all year, so none of these averages shocked me. They all made a lot of sense, which is good. I feel like I'm happy with this total. I think groceries is one of the most important things I can spend my money on, and so yeah, we're good there. Next, let's go to eating out. So I spent about $600 less eating out for the year than I did on groceries, which is good. I feel like grocery budget should be higher than eating out because I am trying to eat at home as much as possible, really. And so eating out total in 2024 was $2,397, which averaged out to about $200 a month. Again, this makes sense. I think this could lower a little bit, but honestly, my eating out, I rarely do takeout unless it's like a lunch that I'm just so busy in the day and I don't have time to get anything and I'm starving, then I'll get like a lunch out by myself. But for the most part, when I am getting takeout or eating out, it's with friends. And so it also adds into like my social time and my social budget as well. So I really am okay spending money out on food. But if I wanted to lower this maybe to like $175 a month, I think that would be fine too. Okay, now let's look at coffee. So I do calculate coffee separate than eating out. Just in coffee alone, getting coffee out, not like buying coffee in Nespresso pods at home. Buying coffee out, I spent $527 for the year. Guys, I feel like that's pretty good. I feel like I hear people saying, you know, like, oh, you shouldn't be spending thousands of dollars on coffee a year. I don't. I only spent $527 on coffee out, and it makes me really happy, you know, like getting that one or two, that averaged out to about $12 a week. And so I feel like that makes sense with getting like it averages out to like 1.5 coffees out a week, which kind of makes sense. I feel like towards the end of the year, I was getting coffee out a little bit more than at the beginning of the year. So I think we're good there. And that's why like doing these totals and these averages is really helpful because it like can make you feel better about spending money. So now like this week when I went out this morning to grab a coffee with a friend, I feel good about it. I'm like, you know what? It's allotted in my budget and I don't have to like stress about getting a cute coffee $8 latte. Now let's look at an expense that I actually kind of want to lower in 2025, and that is Lyft/Uber. So my total Lyft and Uber spending for 2024 was $656, which averages to $55 a month, which I was talking to my roommate Ashley about this, and she was like, that's kind of crazy. I feel like you never Lyft, like take an Uber anywhere. And I was like, I think this is mainly like one, when I'm traveling, like I went to New York twice last year, and so like the Ubers alone from like LaGuardia into the city are like $100. So I think this is like taking some bigger trip Ubers, like airport Ubers and stuff, and just really spiked this. But I would love to get this down to like $25 a month. Like I would love to cut Lyft and Uber in half and only spend like $300 a year there. I hate spending money on Lyft and Uber. Like it totally makes sense. Like my friends and I going out in Nashville, having drinks, we're gonna Uber, but like being able to split that Uber with people or just plan accordingly to where we can all ride share together to save money. I'm just gonna like prioritize that going into this year. Next, let's look at shopping. So shopping was higher than expected, honestly, but I spent $2,424 on the year on shopping. Now, this is not just clothes and makeup. This is Amazon, this is Target runs, this is like all those little added stuff as well for the most part. And so when I was like, oh my gosh, that comes out to like $200 a month on clothes, I was shocked. But then I was like, wait, no, Hannah, this is like little stuff like toothpaste and shampoo and toilet paper, like all those Target runs, Amazon things, like I said. So I feel like this is okay. I feel like $200, it's not that much to spend on just shopping. Beauty, I only spent $908 total in 2024 on beauty. This is nails, hair, cuts, and everything. I don't get my hair colored. That saves a ton of money. That's like 2 hair colorings in Nashville is $900. So the fact that I don't get my hair colored saves me a lot of money, which this averaged to $75 a month for me, which makes sense because the first 6 months of the year, I was getting my nails done almost every month, which comes out to about $70 just for that. But then I cut that out the second half of the year, which I'm really proud of. And then the second half of the year was just getting my eyebrows done, just like $20 waxed. And then the occasional lip flip, and then the occasional haircut. Like I get my hair trimmed every like 4 to 6 months. So yeah, all of that averaged out to only about $75 a month, which I feel like for someone whose job is to be on camera and stuff, like it's not too bad, you know, that's really not that bad. And now let's get into entertainment. Entertainment was also very low. I feel like sometimes maybe I would forget to log entertainment expenses, so that could also be the problem here, but it's saying I only spent $605 in entertainment in 2024, which is about $50 a month. But then again, this is like the random movie, going out to the movies. This is the random, okay, Top Golf, or yeah, just like little things like that, which honestly, most of my like entertainment I feel like is going to eat out with my friends, and like that's just a big thing you do in Nashville. Or I'll do free entertainment stuff, like going to play pickleball with my friends, that's free. Going to hit golf balls costs like $8 for a bucket. So I try to either do like eating out or hobbies that don't cost any money, and I feel like that's why my entertainment bill is like pretty low. Okay, and then lastly, I looked at travel. So I only spent, this is shocking. This is how much I used my credit card points in 2024. I only spent $1,231 on travel last year. Majority of that was my Disney trip. But I traveled, I went on like 20 flights last year, guys. No, maybe not that many. I went on probably like 12 to 15 flights. Like if you're counting like there is one and back is another. I went on so many flights, especially the first half of the year, but I was just really looking for deals and using my credit card points. And even for some flights, I wouldn't use my points on the whole flight. I may use it for like $200 and then I pay the remaining $50 like to bring that down. So just taking advantage of my credit card points really helped me out with travel. I was only averaging about $102 a month, and I feel like I traveled so much for only spending $1,200. Part of this, again, is because some of my trips maybe were with family or they were with friends where I would split the cost of where we were staying, so that helps as well. Honestly, guys, like looking at these totals and these averages, I was really proud of myself for how I spent my money in 2024. Of course, there's things that I shouldn't have bought, shouldn't have spent money on, you know, things that I could have done better with my money, absolutely. But for living in Nashville, living on my own, making my own money, I feel like I'm really proud of the money I made and how I spent it last year. And now I'm just excited to take those good money habits that I've been forming over the past years and just like escalate them in 2025. I don't know if that's the word, but like, and just make them even better, but also like add new habits as well in 2025, like paying off my debt and high yield savings accounts. So that brings us into my goals for my money, which I've talked about in my goals reset video. A big financial goal for me for this year is to, one, pay off my student loans completely. I only have about $2,000 left in my student loan account, but I also want to really bring down my car payment as well. And so altogether, my goal is to pay off $10,000 in debt this year. And yeah, I'm gonna do a whole debt payoff video, so that's gonna come probably late in February, where like I'll show you how I'm breaking this down, my payment schedule, all of that, and like do updates with that throughout the year. But I just wanna tell you all now, if you're someone who's wanting to pay off debt as well, we can be in this together. My debt isn't necessarily bad debt. Student loans, obviously, it's important. And this month so far, I've already put down $700 towards debt. So we're making the steps to get there. We're taking the steps there. Another big goal I had for the year is to start using a high yield savings account. I honestly didn't have one because I was not having that much money in my bank account. Like I hate the word living paycheck to paycheck, but it was kind of like that for me for a while. I just started building up my savings and my emergency fund. And so payment would come in, I would allocate that, you know, for taxes and then my bills. And so now that I'm making a little bit more money this year versus like the beginning of last year, I am making sure to like take that extra money that I'm making and not just go crazy and spend it, which is tough, you know, it's tempting, but to put it towards my debt or in my high yield savings account. I took advice from my friend Erin and opened up a SoFi account just this past week. It was my goal for January, checked it off. Very easy to do. It's also free and there's no annual fees, which is amazing. Now I just need to figure out how to set up multiple high yield savings accounts, because what I wanted this for as well is to have an account for, yes, my emergency fund, which is always collecting, my estimated taxes, which as someone who's self-employed, I have to set those aside and have it collecting over the year. And then I also wanted one for gifts, so that I can add, I think I want to add like $50 a month to this gifts high yield savings account, so that by next November, when I'm buying Christmas gifts, there will be over $500 in there to pull from, and I won't have to like just pull from my budget. I'll be saving up a little bit every month for gifts. Also, I can pull from it for like birthday gifts throughout the year as well, other things like that. But just having like a separate little savings like chunk of money, nothing crazy, just my goal is to have like $500, $600 in there to pull from when there's a gift that I need to buy. And then also having one for travel. This is a big one because I love taking trips. I have like 3 or 4 trips already planned for this year, and I want to have some cushion there to where like if my friends last minute are like, let's take a trip this weekend, I can be like, okay, yeah, I can do that, because I'm not even pulling from my monthly budget. I can pull from this little savings account that I have specifically made for trips and travel. So my goal is to put down $150 a month in that travel little bucket, $50 a month in my gifts bucket, let's call it that. and then continuing to put in $300 a month into my emergency fund / savings bucket, and having all of that be in a high yield savings account. I'm not going to go too detailed into a high yield savings account. Erin and Chloe, the two girls I mentioned at the beginning of the video, talk a lot about that and like give you specific details, but basically they have a higher APY. So like instead of making a few cents every month on interest when your money's just sitting in your bank savings account, in a high yield savings account, you can be making like 1 to 4% every month in interest. So it's just, you're getting paid to just keep your money in a high yield savings account versus not in a high yield savings account. So like while my travel bucket is growing, it's also making money as it's sitting there. This video is getting kind of long, so I want to just talk through 2 other things that I'm doing for my financial reset that you could do as well. The next one is easy, but look through your unused subscriptions and just cancel or pause as many as possible. If you're like not using all your ClassPass credits every month, go to a lower membership. If you're not using, like go in your app store settings and see what photo and video apps you're paying extra for that you don't need. I know Rocket Money, this video is not sponsored by them, but I've heard a lot of sponsorships with them where people like to use Rocket Money to find what subscriptions they're paying twice for that they no longer need. So that's a great one. Maybe consolidate your streaming services, things like that. And then also, now's a great time of the year to go through your charitable donations that you made in the previous year and just gathering those documents for tax season. That's one of my goals going into February, is to start working hard on my taxes. So fun. Oh, it's my least favorite time of year, but it's okay. We're getting through it. Gathering your tax documents from the previous year, and even if like maybe giving to charity or your church or an organization is a goal you have for 2025, start doing some research on where you want to start giving your money to so that you know it's being put to good use. So that could be like your next step as well. So that is walking you guys through my financial reset, everything I did to kind of take assessment of where I spent my money in 2024 and figuring out how I want to spend my money and be smarter with my financial decisions in 2025. Okay, now let's jump into my expenses for January, and yeah, just where I spent a lot of money this past month. In case you're wondering, I use a budget spreadsheet from Etsy. It's not my own, but I will link it below if you guys want to check it out. Yeah, basically what I do at the start of every month is I go through and I set a budget for myself, spending categories, these expected expenses. And then what I do at the end of every month is I go in and look at my credit card statement, because I have a personal credit card, my Chase Sapphire Preferred, that I absolutely love. And then actually this month I got another credit card, but this one is for new YouTube expenses. The card I was using before was like a college card and it just wasn't doing what I needed. I wanted to get better point systems, and so I got the Southwest card because I realized in the past year 90% of the flights that I flew were Southwest flights, and I was like, you know what, let me get another card through Chase. I really like the Chase app, and get my Southwest points so I can get even more free flights in 2025. So I recently just signed up for that card. I'll have both linked below. You can again do your own research, but all that to say is I go into the Chase app and it gives me my spending summary. So it tells me how much I spent in each of these categories. Some things I have to adjust a little, you know, it's not perfect. It takes maybe 20 to 30 minutes every month for me to do my budget, and that's literally it. So this isn't something that I'm updating weekly. I know people update it weekly. I know people log every single expense. That's amazing if you want to do that and like be super meticulous about your money and your budgeting. But for me, if I had to do that, I wouldn't do it. And so for me, keeping it simple and quick and easy is how I know that I'm actually going to stick to my budget every month. Or not stick to it in a sense of like every dollar is perfect, but just like look at my money, look into my bank accounts, and try to stick to a budget. All right, let's go ahead and get into these. So for January, I budgeted $45 for gas. I ended up spending a bit more. I spent $75. Lyft and Uber, pretty accurate. Budgeted $50, spent $52. How perfect. Coffee was a little bit over. I think traveling was with this. So most of the month I was here in Nashville, here in my apartment. And then there was one weekend that I took a girls trip to Charleston. And so I think a lot of my like food and eating out and coffee, Ubers, all of that attributed here. Ubers I budgeted pretty well for, but eating out I did not, as we're about to see. But coffee I budgeted $60, I spent $78. And then eating out, I haven't spent this much, guys, on eating out in forever, like maybe a year or two. I have not spent over $500 in a month eating out. But I was like, what happened in January? And then I started looking through each transaction and I was like, oh, I had an $80 birthday dinner for a friend. I Had New Year's Eve drinks that, you know, I was out on New Year's Eve, bought some cocktails, those rolled over into January 1st. Obviously Charleston, we didn't even eat out a ton in Charleston, but just like drinks here, coffee here, breakfast, little things like that. And then grabbing like a few lunches because I was busy with work. It adds up. And so I only budgeted $350, but I spent $520. And then groceries, you're like, oh, I ate out a ton. Groceries is going to be lower. No, I also spent a lot in groceries. I guess I was just eating really good in January. I budgeted $250, which is about what I spent in December, but I spent almost $400 in groceries. So pretty much doubling my food spending this month was not in the plan, but that's okay because I cut back in entertainment, and so we saved some money there. Entertainment, I budgeted $100. I only spent $27. What was this for? I think an escape game that I did with friends. The rest of my entertainment was just like going out, getting drinks and eating out. Beauty, I got my hair cut with my friend and I got my eyebrows waxed. So altogether that was $98, right under budget. Shopping, I have been in such a shopping mood, guys. It's not good. And I fear it's gonna continue through the spring. Just like, I just am in a mood to like revamp my closet, get new makeup. Like this hits me every once in a while and it's like, oof, oof. But that's okay. I'm budgeting for it because I know I'm gonna wanna buy things. I know I'm gonna wanna spend money. So anyway, I budgeted $300 and I spent $409. This is, yes, like some beauty things. I bought the new Rhode lip liners I'm really excited for. Maybe a piece of clothing or two, but this is also like my Amazon and my Target runs. So some of this trickles into Spruce's stuff and food, but it's just hard for me to separate like Amazon and Target purchases to know, unless I was, you know, updating this spreadsheet weekly. But yeah, gifts, I just bought like some little things for my friend whose birthday we were celebrating and bought her drinks, and a little gift for letting me stay at her place. And then Spruce spent, this is estimated, but like I think around $75 on him this month. Travel, I was expecting to spend a lot more because I thought I was going to be booking my Disneyland trip, but I want to book my Disneyland trip on this new credit card so that, you know, I hit the spending amount to get the extra points. And so I'm waiting till I receive that card to book my trip, which is literally in a month, which is crazy. But I only spent $41. I don't even remember what this was for. I went in mid-month to like update a few things, and this is what happens when I put stuff in my spreadsheet mid-month. I forget what I put it as. So yeah, I didn't really have an other expense this month. So altogether, I did budget $1,830. And even though I went over a lot on food this month because I budgeted or underspent in like travel and entertainment, I actually came in still pretty good with my budget of spending pretty much $1,800, which is a lot of money. That's typically more than I spend in a month on variable expenses. I usually try to stick around like the $1,200 to $1,300 range, because you'll see my bills over here are around $16 to $1,700 a month, just with rent, utilities, ClassPass, internet, all of that. My bills are about $1,700. So I try to stick and keep my like variable expenses around the same amount, but this January, it was just a spendy month, I guess. And like I said, February I think is going to be spendy as well in certain areas, and so I'm going to try to adjust and make them spend less in other areas. So for example, how I'm doing that, let's go over to my February budget. Gas I think is pretty typical. There, let me do 50. Lyft and Uber though, I don't plan on like going out drinking a ton. I'm not traveling in February, so I'm gonna lower this to $15. Like I want to maybe only take one Uber this month, if that. Coffee, I'm gonna try to bring down as well, because again, I'm budgeting for travel and shopping that I know I've been wanting to do. So I think I'm gonna bring down coffee to $50 a month. Eating out, we're gonna bring down to $300. And then groceries, I feel like I can't really, well, it's a shorter month, you know, it is a shorter month by a few days. So maybe we'll try to bring groceries down to $200. Entertainment, we're gonna bring down as well. I have some Galentine's parties and stuff, but for those, I really just need to like bring a little treat. And so we're gonna bring entertainment down to $50. I don't think I have anything big planned that's gonna like cost money entertainment wise. And beauty as well, I am going to try to spend $0 on beauty so that I can spend more shopping and personal. So I'm gonna raise my shopping to $400 because again, we're reallocating my beauty budget. I'm not going to get anything done beauty wise, no nails, no hair, no eyebrows, so that I can buy some outfits that I've been wanting for March and spring and summer. Okay, gifts though. Do I have any birthdays? I think, what do I have? I knew I had to, oh, I have to buy a wedding gift in March. Well, I have a wedding in March. I'm probably gonna buy the gift this month. We'll allocate $50 for that. Spruce will keep it 100. Now travel is where this is gonna get more because I am going to Disneyland next month and I'm doing a solo trip, which is gonna be super fun, but that does make it more expensive. My ticket itself, I think is gonna be like $170, and then my hotel, I'm splurging, and I'm not gonna say where I'm staying right now for safety reasons, but I'm gonna be staying at a nicer hotel, and so that's gonna be like $600. So I am gonna budget $800 for travel, which again is why we adjusted some other things, and I'm just gonna put $50 in case there's a random expense, but hopefully there won't be, so that it evens out in my travel budget. Okay, these, so there we go. It is, again, February is gonna be probably even more expensive than January, mainly because of my Disneyland trip, but that's okay. That in March is gonna be a treat to myself. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. So that is how I kind of look at my month at a glance, think about, okay, what do I have coming up on my calendar? What birthdays, things, events, entertainment? What am I gonna wanna spend my money on this month? As we know, as I've said, shopping and this trip is what I've really wanted to spend money on. So I'm trying to cut back in other areas a little bit here and there. And that's what feels good for me. And that is gonna be it for my February budget with me. If you like this style of video, give it a thumbs up, let me know in the comments, and I will keep making these. I'm trying to decide if I wanna put these into my resets. I know when I originally started doing monthly resets, I added this budget with me in there, but then I separated them into 2 separate videos. But let me know what you prefer. If you prefer the budget with me in a separate finance focused video, or if I should just throw it in with my like plan with me resets. Let me know what you guys want. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in my next video very soon. I'm staying on top of my uploads, guys. Be proud. Okay, bye.